Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ. I'm Amanda Gare here with you, and we are very pleased to be welcomed by legendary NFL quarterback, Super Bowl winner Joe Theismann. Thanks so much for hopping on with us.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, normally I keep predictions at the end, but I want to, with you, jump right into this. Who wins Super Bowl 55, and what do you make of this quarterback matchup? Because it's incredible.
Well, this is the earliest I've predicted it. I think it's a great matchup between two terrific football teams. I think both the representative of the NFC and the AFC are the right teams that are there. I like the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. I think offensively that Patrick Mahomes should be healed over whatever toe issue he had. He should be able to move around. We know Andy Reid is a gambler at heart. I believe they'll put the ball in the air. The big key to this football game is going to be how well Kansas City's defense is able to put pressure on Tom Brady, because you just don't want to give Tom time. Both of these guys, you could say, are seasoned Super Bowl quarterbacks. Patrick, having done it a year ago and in that playoff run, came from behind in every game. So he knows how to do that. And Tom, without question, is the greatest quarterback of football. And no offense to those that have played it at a very high level, but I think championships speak volumes for the individual. So I like Kansas City in this one.
Joe, I want to talk about your former team, Washington. There have been so many incredible storylines with this team throughout this season, whether it's Ron Rivera or Alex Smith. And I do want to start with Alex Smith because your career ended with a very tough leg injury. So watching him, what he has done, what he overcame, just kind of speak to that from your perspective.
Well, I mean, in Alex's case and mine, it's just unbelievable to see him come back and be able to play. I mean, it was almost the same place on the field. The final score of the game was the same. It was, 30 some odd years later, the same date. There were too many coincidences in that football game. It became scary. I was in the stands I was actually in the box that night. I was there watching it happen. It took me 20 years to see my injury. It took me 20 minutes to see Alex's. Now, the injuries were the same, but what he had to deal with after was so monumental and so heroic, and the support he got from his family and the Secretary of State giving him the opportunity to go to the center down in Dallas, the rehab center where the troops get rehabbed. But his mental toughness was absolutely phenomenal. For the last 2 years, we've talked, we've communicated. I've watched his progress. I've said this before. His wife, Elizabeth, is probably his biggest fan. I'm number two, I promise you. I was so excited. And when he stepped on the field against the Rams and Aaron Donald jumped on his back, I held my breath. Just please don't let anything happen to him. He got through it. And now he's just one of the greatest stories we have in sports. And really, I think for people everywhere that you can never give up. There's no mountain that you can't climb if you're willing to sacrifice and pay a price. He's a great inspiration, not just to athletes, but I think to everybody, that you can't give up. And Ron Rivera is the same way. You mentioned Ron's name. I mean, battling cancer while trying to run a football team. My goodness gracious sakes. You just have to take your hat off and admire those men so much and their support around them.
Joe, looking at the quarterback position with Washington, I mean, you know the league so well. If you're in Ron's position, in that front office position, I mean, long term, are you looking elsewhere with a quarterback that's already there in the market, or are you looking to the draft? What are you going to do?
I think as drafting at 19, I'm not sure you're going to get what you're looking for in the draft. But Joe Montana was a 3rd round pick. I was a 4th round pick. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. They're probably going to take a quarterback. The question is, who do they like enough to commit a 3rd or 4th or even a 2nd round pick to? I don't believe you ought to trade away that number 1 pick. I do think they're going to add a quarterback to the position for competitive purposes. And Ron made this statement about 5-6 weeks ago. He said he made a mistake when he just gave the job to Dwayne. In Ron's defense, when you don't have an off season to be able to evaluate people, you sort of have to go with the guy that's there if you're a new coach. So, I know he's saying he will open it to competition, but he really wasn't in much of a situation to be able to do much when he came here. So, yeah, I think they're going to look. I think they're going to look in somewhere, whether it's through the trades, whether it's through free agency, probably maybe even in the draft later on.
You mentioned Haskins there. Do you think if maybe he can mature a little bit that he can have a successful future?
It's a great question. And I think he answered that question for all of us. When he left Washington, he put a tweet out and said he realized there were things that he didn't do that he needed to be able to play the position the way it should be played. And I think that's the first thing about getting better at anything, is acknowledging what you did and that you have to be better at what you do. And so from my perspective, I really feel like Dwayne in Pittsburgh will have a second chance. Now, there's things mechanically he needs to work on, and hopefully there'll be some type of an off season where he'll be able to get with the coaches and work on the things to allow him to be able to play the position at a much higher level than he had a chance to. But he has a terrific arm. He's quite athletic for a big guy. The bottom line is, he sort of said it himself. He needs to be better at getting ready to play.
Yeah, hold yourself accountable. I want to go back to the draft for a second, because you were on with one of our colleagues, Bill Ryder, and I thought it was really interesting because you get Trevor Lawrence and widely projected as the #1 overall draft pick, but you really feel like Zach Wilson could be right up there with him when it comes to talent level.
I do. I think Zach, obviously, I just love the way he throws the football. I've always, it's hard to teach. We've seen people learn to perfect it a little bit, but he has all the natural skills. He's got a live arm. He's got a strong arm. He can put touch on it. He can gun it. He's a 6'3". He's not a small guy. He moves around with great athleticism. And I just think that, to me, from watching him play quarterback, he looks really ready. Now, Trevor Lawrence is certainly a big kid who can run well, surrounded by terrific talent at Clemson. It's a little bit like Mac Jones at Alabama. They're surrounded by terrific talent. And sometimes, you look at that talent and say, did that help the position a lot? I think in the case of Trevor, being a young guy and as strong and as physical as he is, he'll have a great opportunity to learn, as will Mac and all the young guys, Justin Fields as well, out of Ohio State. But I just think that coming into this particular draft, Zach looks like he checks all the boxes for me personally. My choice, my guy. And it looks like the Jets may be the ones that may wind up taking him at 2, which puts Sam Darnold possibly on the market or someplace else.
Absolutely. Would you take him over Trevor then?
Honestly, yes. Yes. Real close. I mean, we're sort of splitting hairs a little bit here, but yeah, I would, as a matter of fact.
All right. That is good to know. Joe Theismann, tell us about Medliminal before we let you go.
Medliminal is a company that I've been associated with for the last couple of years. What we are is we're a company that examines employee medical bills, and it's spelled Medliminal. You can go to medliminal.com. Certainly get more information about what we do. We're a health savings program. What we want to do is we want to examine the employees' medical bills. So if you're a self-insured employer, we'd like us to come in and let us examine your bills. We have a thing called an HCAT system, where we could collaborate with nurses as well as healthcare experts and examine those medical bills. I promise you, nor I nor anybody listening, unless you send the bills out, maybe you don't even understand it, that we don't understand what's in a medical bill. And as our parents get older and there's more and more need for hospital visits or doctor's visits, you want to be able to understand what you're being charged for. And that's what Medliminal wants to do. They want to help you understand exactly what you're being charged for. And so I guess you could say we're an advocate for employees. So we're like that big brother that wants to help you make sure that everything is the way it should be.
Joe Theismann, legendary NFL quarterback. We appreciate your insight into everything. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Can't wait. Should be a great one. Thank you.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.